I first discovered my love of cars through my dad. You know, it started off with motivational, like, hey, get good grades and you'll get a Matchbox car or a Hot Wheels or something like that. And then it turned into him reading stories to me. And the one that really changed my whole outlook and caused me to fall in love with European sports cars was The Red Car by Don Stanford. I was probably 9 years old, and I just never looked back. And so, while I love all cars, that has probably, you know, very much predicted my focus on European. I think the first lines I ever drew were the lines of cars. In high school, I did some drawing competitions and things like that, went to state, went to nationals, and one of the years against counsel of everyone basically still drew a car. It was, you know, it was supposed to be animals and landscapes and everything else, and I took a chop top, like a pink chop top 30s hot rod to state convention, and I think I might have gotten third place or something, but they said, you need to reconsider your subject matter. So here I am in my 50s and I have not changed my subject matter. Now this is a continuation of my Lineage series, but the Lineage series was to give the idea of it being a continuous line, and then, you know, I used it to form of the car, but then the details fill in and obviously aren't part of the continuous line. So this was my series that actually led to the idea of Automotive single line drawings.
Oh, gotcha.
And
okay.
so I was doing these, and then I was like, wait, what if I could like tell a whole story? You know, I'm far from the first person to do single line drawings, but taking them in an automotive storytelling direction,
right,
you know, and putting in a car that you love with elements of, you know, a favorite vacation or whatever
right.
it is. I think that, well, probably a lot of artists are known for a style and their work is immediately recognizable. I think my style is curiosity. I think my style is learning things and experimenting, and you know, my wife laughs sometimes because I'll be shopping on eBay and I'll buy, you know, these tools to experiment, to do this gesture sketch ink work that I do, and I'll buy like an old perfume atomizer and an old like metal bristle brush and like all these things, and I just see what I can get out of it, and some of them create these incredible results and some of them don't work at all, but I'm just on this path to discovery. And so, you know, some of my stuff is very geometric and hard lines, and some of my stuff is about as loose as it can be and still be recognizable as, hey, that's an automotive form. The satisfaction for a clever geometric piece, like this piece that I did, where it's two overlapping shapes and some overlapping circles that make up the Porsche 356, and I've done one of the 911 as well. The joy and the fulfillment of that piece comes at the moment that you solve the problem. Then you have to paint the painting on the other side of that. What's very different about the ink sketches and the gesture work that I do is the joy comes while you're doing it. It comes at the end of you doing it. It comes when you get a keeper. You know, I've gotten pieces 90% of the way there, and one brush stroke puts it in the trash. There's a joy of getting those happy accidents and those things that make it awesome, but that can also come apart with one bad stroke or splatter. And so there's kind of dual joy and fulfillment in those gesture pieces where it looks like it's coming together and you get stuff you love, but then also when you get to the end and you're like, yeah, I don't have to throw this one away. When my son was born, I went looking for an automotive story, specifically a father-son story to share with my son. And I couldn't really find anything. I certainly couldn't find what I wanted. So the only car books I could find really were cars, anthropomorphic cars, frolicking in mud puddles, you know, giggling and batting their eyelashes. And I wanted a real father-son car story, and I wanted a story that had a meaningful and significant car in it. And so, having worked as a creative director, design director for a couple decades, I decided to put my copywriting and my design and illustration skills together in a book called The Little Red Racing Car. When I selected the car, I wanted it to be red and I wanted it to be Italian, but I wanted it to not be a Ferrari. And so I picked a very non-stereotypical but very much collected and appreciated car, the Maserati 300S. Unbeknownst to me, it was one of the favorite cars of Sir Sterling Moss, and we were able to build a relationship out of that when I shared it with him, and I told him I'd love to just like name the dog Sterling or something and pay homage to you in the story. He said, you can put me in the story any way you like. So I included the discovery of this car, having been neglected and put in a barn, that it was a car that was originally raced by Sir Sterling. And Sir Sterling loved the book so much that he invited me to book signings at Lime Rock Historics, and I got to be there with him in the car at Pebble Beach. And a friendship came out of that, opening the door to my second book, The Greatest Race, which is a collaboration with Sir Sterling Moss. When we collaborated on that book, and that book came out, he signed and wrote notes in that book to my children. And look at that. To Parker, I hope that one day you will be able to drive a Maserati. Sterling Moss. I haven't looked at these in a long time. So there's this beautiful friendship where it started virtually. The first time I got to meet him in person, he and Lady Susie gave me this massive hug, and I've got a photo of it happening. It's one of the most amazing things of this journey of mine. Then a father-daughter story in the small silver speedster with the Porsche 356, celebrating early California racing and the racetracks. And one of the fun elements of the father-daughter story is the Giraffasis, which is my take on the mobile Pegasus. And you'll probably have seen some of the shirts and things like that with the Giraffasis on it. The Giraffasis was my creation, paying homage to my daughter's favorite toy, Giraffe. And so in one of these illustrations in the book, she's going to bed, snuggled in with Giraffe, and it's her real stuffed toy. Honestly, I think that one of the greatest joys that has come out of it for me is the notes that I get from parents telling me like that these lines like vroom vroom daddy, by how they said goodnight in the Little Red Racing Car, is how they say goodnight in their house. And because now this book is 11 or 12 years old, I have kids that are now driving their first sports car, and the Little Red Racing Car is part of their story the way the red car was for me.
What are you opening, Daddy? It's a little red racing car. It's amazing. It's a little red racing car. It's a little red racing car. That is making a little red racing car for me.
Carpe Viam means seize the road. I wanted Latin, I wanted something where the logo and the idea of the company, it wasn't just something to stick on a shirt. It meant something. It was a slogan. And you felt it. And so Carpe Viam was the brand that was initially to publish my books. Partway through the creation of the Little Red Racing Car, I launched a t-shirt design or two, and they started selling pretty well. And I like good art on t-shirts, on quality t-shirts, but there wasn't any of the stuff that I wanted to wear on a shirt. So many of these are like reinterpretations of things or repurposing of original typography, but in a brand new style of design. The books were really the idea of Carpe Viam. The t-shirts came out of that and now are absolutely as big a part or a bigger part than the books. I'm in awe of the space of the warehouse. I think the warehouse is doing big things for bringing car culture together in ways that it's not just Porsche and it's not just JDM and it's automotive enthusiasts as a whole that are coming together. It's an automotive hub that connects people and makes us more similar instead of more niche. everything that the warehouse is kind of the multiplication of all of these things. And so where you could go to a really cool place with neon signs and hot rods and, you know, domestic racing heroes like the GT40 and whatever, or you could go to a place, you know, that feels like a 50s diner or whatever else it is. There are all these different genres of collector car spaces, but it's kind of like the venue determines the outcome. And the warehouse is just such a cool environment that opens the door to be anything. There's no reason that you can't have a hot rod meet or a Porsche meet or a 5-star dinner or a live art performance. And so I think that what the warehouse really is still an open-ended story.